Hey guys, it's Maymay and it's time for another scripture art journal. And if you remember, we're doing the Advent. So we're walking through the Advent now up to Christmas. And so if you remember, we're doing the Advent. And this is last week's. This is Romans 15:12. And this is the page I did for last week. And you see how dark and kind of one color it is. And you remember I told you I wanted each week to kind of lighten as we go. So this week's scripture is Luke 3 verses 4 through 6. And actually, we went ahead on our Facebook group and in the bottom of this video in the description bar, I'm going ahead and putting all the scriptures in. So if you're wanting to go ahead and complete your journal for the year, you can. I know how busy the holidays get, and I really want you to be able to focus on your friends and your family and the holiday season as it's meant to be, and not worrying about your scripture art journal book. I want you to complete it, but not stress over it. So I went ahead and gave you all the scriptures so you could get ahead of the game. This week, as I said, we are reading from Luke chapter 3, verses 4 through 6. As it is written in the book of the words of Isaiah the prophet, the voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord, make his path straight. Every valley shall be filled, and every mountain and hillside shall be made low. And the crooked and rough places become straight and level ways, and all flesh shall see the salvation of God. And I'm going to focus on the path from here. You know, this is where we're starting to see the entire nativity come together, the entire story of Christ and what salvation is and how we're going to receive the gift of salvation. Looking back, we can see this being unfolding before our eyes. And I want this in my mind to get brighter and brighter because Christ is the light of the world. And I want every week to get brighter leading up to that. So what I did was I took some blue paper because for me, blue, this kind of navy or darker blue is just the epitome of night sky. To me, that's what I think. Night sky. Even if I had a little darker blue paper, that would probably work good too. I didn't have anything a shade darker, but if you do, think about that. If you don't, you can always take some ink and ink the sky up and make it darker. But I decided I'm not going to do that, and here's why. I'm kind of playing with this. I don't really know where this is going to go, but I kind of want to put in this ground level area here that is black. So we've got the night sky and then the ground. And I'm going to use this stamp from our friends at Joy Claire. And this section is like a little Bethlehem. I'm sure it's like Bethlehem, but I'm going to just put it as a town. It can be Bethlehem, that's fine. But I'm thinking I want to run this across the horizon and then make a path. So we're going to see how that goes. It's what I've got in my mind. And so the first thing I want to do, this piece is too long. This is a scrap piece I have that I'm using, and it's too long. So I'm just going to bring my trimmer over. This is how I do this in real life. I'm not moving anything out of the way. And I'm going to trim an inch off of this because I think it's about an inch too long. And move that aside. And let's see what we're working with now. I feel like this will be right. Now, you don't have to waste this 4 inches of blue paper underneath. You can cut that away and then glue these together. But I don't mind doing it like this. I've already cut that blue piece, so I'm just going to stack these on top of each other like this. So this is where I want my little Bethlehem town to live, on the top of this ground or the horizon. So I'm going to draw a pencil mark, and I'm being pretty heavy because I want to really be able to see it on this blue paper. Let me move the journal out of the way. I do usually move that out of the way. And so now I've got this line, which is really hard to see. So I'm going to do it in a black marker so I can really see it. So I'm going to put my ruler here. And then get out my black marker here. And just do that so I can really see the line and I'll know where I'm stamping. I thought I would use this stamp set at some point. I wasn't sure exactly how, but I really love the wise men and everything that are on it. So I thought for sure I'd use that, but I never thought that this little scene, this little city scene would be so perfect, and it is. So I'm going to take this little guy off of here, like so, and put him on a block. Got one right here. That is the cutest little city. Okay. I'm going to use VersaFine. I want this to be as dark as I can get it. Probably need to zoom you guys in for this because this is going to be tiny work. So let me just zoom real quick. Okay, so I'm going to use this VersaFine ink because, like I said, I want it to be as dark as I can get it. And I find that VersaFine works really well with these kind of solid image stamps. So just inking that up. And now I'm not going to stress if this is not perfect. I'm going to try to line it up on that line. If it's not perfect, I'll deal with it. Look how cute that is. And I want that to kind of carry all the way down. So I'm just going to lay them next to each other and stamp. Look, I like how that's looking. That's pretty easy to line up, especially since it doesn't have to be the same height all the way across. And, you know, we've got that other piece that's going to cover up anywhere where we're not perfectly straight. Look how good that looks. I love that. Okay, so there's that. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue that black piece down and see how that's going to kind of clean it all up. Look how neat that looks and gives us that, let me move it down, gives us that horizon. Perfect. So let's glue that little guy down. I'm actually going to pick this page up and just kind of pat it down together so I know everything's nice and even, and then I can work that glue around. I love how that looks so far. Zoom you guys back out so you can see the whole thing. So see how cool that looks? It gives us a great horizon. Now I want a pathway, and I want this pathway to come up from the bottom. And I want it to be kind of forced perspective. You've heard of this before, like it'll look closer to us here and further away here. So I chose this kind of slate gray color, and I'm going to freehand this. I'm going to cut a scrap of this off, start kind of a triangle, a long, skinny, tall triangle. So I'm just going to do an angle on one side, like so. Now here's the thing. I want to be very specific with this path. If you don't care about the specifics, don't worry about this part. But I'm going to take this piece of paper and lay it right to the other side there. So I can use this same angle as a pattern for this side. And I can get a very specific angle so that it'll be very symmetrical. I just, in my mind, want it to be very symmetrical. You could totally tear this paper and get whatever path comes out. You could do this on your electronic cutting machine. You could measure and mark, but for me, that's the easiest way to do it. And this way, I have a pretty symmetrical angle. So see how now my path looks wider here and gets more narrow at the top. Now, I'm not going to glue this one down just yet. I want to do something to this path. So it's so starkly contrasting to the black. I want to ink it, but I'm going to do something different. I'm going to ink it in black. So I've just got an ink blending tool, and I'm going to tap into my VersaFine, which should be really, really dark. I'm not going to really worry about that. If it is, that's fine. And I'm going to ink these edges in black. You could use black soot, distress ink if you had it. I don't have it close by, so I just thought, well, I've got this, and I do have my black ink blender pad. I'm going to use it. And look how good that's blending. It looks really neat there. So just keep going with that. I have to tell you, that blends pretty good, that VersaFine. Look how pretty that is. That's a nice blend on the edge there. Let's go do this. Now remember, I'm using VersaFine, and if you do the same, you're going to have to let this dry a little bit because VersaFine likes to stay wet for a little while. I just didn't want this path to be stark white. I felt like it needed a little bit of shading. So there's that. And now let's bring our path back over. So see, that just looks better to me. It doesn't look quite so starkly contrasting. It just kind of blends into the page. So I'm going to glue this down, and I'm just going to kind of eyeball the center. If it's not perfectly centered, I'm not going to worry about that too awful much. Let's see what we're looking like. Pretty close. Wipe that glue where I overdid it. I really overdid that glue, didn't I? So this same stamp set has these little cluster of stars, and I'm going to take my Brutus Monroe white alabaster ink, and I'm going to load this guy up with some little white stars. I think this will be really pretty. Something like that to start with, and then I'm going to take the single stars. They've got these other little stars that are so we can fill in the gaps of that. We'll bring these guys out, and they are teeny tiny stars. Oh my goodness, they're tiny. And I'm just taking a couple little 1-inch or 3 little 1-inch stamp blocks, and I'm going to just use it to help me fill in here and there with these little guys, just to kind of tie all the places together where I just kind of stopped. And I kind of turned it here and there. So there's those. Let's do some more with just this single star. And then lastly, this little teeny tiny star. Let's just let there be some floating here in this area. I love that. I'm not through with that white ink yet. I want to do one more thing with it. From another stamp set that Joy Claire does, I love this one. This is all the books of the Bible. I'm going to pull the scripture reference from here. It's actually the books of the Bible and the numbers that we need. So I'm going to pull that from here and use it. So these stamps are teeny tiny again, but I've pulled out the word Luke. So I'm going to start with that. I'm going to ink that. And I'm going to use this horizon kind of as my guide. So there's the word Luke. And then let's use another little tiny stamp block and get 3. Now I'm going to have to get over the top of this. So I'm going to bring this where I can see it. There's 3. And then I need to do the little semicolon. Is that what that's called? The 2 dots, semicolon or a colon? It may be a colon. I'm really bad at that. Let me get over the top of it. Dot, dot. And then 4 through 6. So let's do 4. In between 4 and 6, I'm going to do a little dash mark with my white pen. And that's pretty much it. I made a mess with this white ink on my fingers, but I love how that looks. I love it. So let's put it in the book and see what it looks like for real all together. So I can't leave, well enough alone and stop here, right? Since I'm going to walk away from this and let it dry overnight, or it can dry overnight now, I'm going to take this crystal drop in silver moon dust, and I'm going to dot some in the sky for a little sparkle. Not too much and not too high, because this is a dimensional product, so it will stay dimensional, but I don't want to use too much. So just here and there, I'm going to put some little dots, because I don't want to build up too much dimension in my book, but this little bit of glitter will catch the light. And I think that'll really brighten up the sky. So there we go. I've done it, but I'm going to see if you guys can see it if I do a little. Look how pretty that is. And as it dries, it'll be so pretty. So there you go. That is my page for this week for Luke 3 and 4. I just love it. I can't wait to see what you guys do. Be sure to share your creations with us over on our Facebook group, which is Hide His Word in My Heart. And don't forget, in 2017, we're going to be doing a little bit of different journaling. I've had a lot of you ask me how and where to find the journal that I use. Well, I've got good news. I have sourced it, I have found it, and we're going to be able to get it in the store, and I'm really excited. So the journal I'm going to use next year, you will also be able to use if you're interested. They're not here yet. They're on their way, and when they get here, I'll let you know. But this is perfect. We only have 2 more to do, and we will have completed 2016. How cool is that? If you've been with me since the beginning, you will have 2015 and 2016 completed. 2 years of art journaling. That is really cool. I hope you enjoyed this one tonight. I hope you have a great evening. It's probably morning for you now since I post this in the morning, but for me, it's nighttime. I'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.